So the United States has a political season once every 2 years, with the presidential election occurring once every 4 years. And the campaigning occurs for about a year ahead of that, and we're right in the thick of that now. And I thought it'd be a good idea to go over what each one of the United States candidates for president has to say about EVs, because there's been a lot of disinformation about that. So let's go ahead and start with former President Trump.
Saying, I will rescue the U.S. auto industry from obliteration. They're going to obliterate it. And anybody that votes for the head of the United Auto Workers, that guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's approved all electric cars. And you know, Elon, I love Elon Musk. Do we love him? I love him. And I'm constantly talking about electric cars, but I don't mean I'm against, I'm totally for them, but whatever the market says, and if it's 10% of the market, 12%, 7%, 20%, whatever it is, it's okay. But you can't have 100% electric cars. And you know, so Elon endorsed me recently, the other day. He's great. Elon Musk. He's a brilliant guy. Every time I call him, he's talking about, I got a new idea for a rocket. You have to hear this? No, it's true. You know, the first time I ever saw this, I'm watching television like 3 years ago, and I see a rocket engine, motor engine, come down landing, straight up there, no wings, no nothing, and it's landing. I thought I was seeing things. What is that? And it's landing on a barge in the middle of the ocean. And then another one comes down, and another one. I guess 4 of them came down, 3 or 4, and they land upright. I said, what the hell was that? I've never seen that before. Now, if that were government, you wouldn't see that for another 50 to 100 years. But it was Elon. Now, think of that. And I called him, and I've always had a good relationship with him, but I called him, and I said, what was that? He said, well, we saved the engines. We saved the engines because it's very expensive to build. So, I mean, it didn't take me long to figure that if you save them, that's good. But who the hell thought you could do that? Nope.
And he goes on to praise Elon Musk after this. But we get the gist of what the candidate is referring to. Former President Trump, the Republican nominee, is basically saying that EVs are a terrific technology. He's just against the funding from the federal government and the mandate to go to 100% for electric vehicles. So that's his opinion. Let's see what Biden-Harris administration has to say. Vice President Harris is now the nominee. Last year, they released what's called a fact sheet, a White House fact sheet. This goes over what the administration accomplished for the acceleration of electric vehicle adoption. We see all these numbers, 25 billion, 10 billion. So their goal is to accelerate electric vehicle adoption. Again, they are for EV, just like former President Trump is for EV. It's good technology. It makes good sense. If you want to drive EV, that's cool. It's just the Biden-Harris administration is encouraging the electric vehicle adoption rate to accelerate through direct and indirect funding from federal funds. There was something post-COVID to stimulate the economy called the Inflation Reduction Act, which included the NEVI formula, which allocated multi-billions of dollars in order to install DC fast chargers around the United States. Whether or not this was good or bad, it has passed. It is law. If President Trump becomes president, I don't think he could change that law. You'd have to petition Congress and all that stuff. So it is written into law. So that happened. The administration also is encouraging automakers to build electric vehicles through multiple different means. And there's tax credits or tax reduction for production of electric vehicles and certain things that have to do with the actual manufacturing of electric vehicles. Domestically, it does have to be domestic, but there's that. There's also the ability for people who purchase electric vehicles to receive a $7,500 off the sticker price of electric vehicles. So all this is coming from the Biden-Harris administration, who is trying to accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles through funding from the federal government. And I suppose you could argue in your political spectrum, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And I'll go over my opinions here in just a second. There was also, from the Biden-Harris administration not too long ago, a plan to electrify freight using corridors that would be a catalyst for freight electrification, where there would be hubs built out for the refueling of the electric freight trucks, so that it could actually be practical. And this was laid out as well from the federal government, and there is some money involved, but really what they were charting was more regulatory and oversight for the electrification of freight in the United States. Thirdly, the Federal Highway Administration was issuing something called select grants to the tune of $649 million. How much was this? $623 million in select grants for various electric vehicle projects around the United States. Mostly these are level 2 in communities, but there are some DC fast chargers in certain locations, and the full list of awards are listed in this document. All these will be linked down below in the description. So, as we journey through what is going to be the 2024 presidential election cycle, from my understanding, both candidates are pro-electric vehicle. Really, the argument is whether or not the federal government should be directly or indirectly funding the electric vehicle adoption to accelerate or not. The Republicans say no, and the Democrats say yes. Basically, that's what it's saying. So there has been some thought and some tribalism around the concept that electric vehicles are good if you're a Democrat, and if you're a Republican, it's bad. And that's just not the case. As you heard former President Trump saying, he is all for electric vehicles. He just doesn't want the federal government to be funding them. And if you're wondering where I sit in the political spectrum, I've been a lifelong Republican. In fact, I'm a right-wing Republican, very conservative Republican. About a decade ago, I made a commitment to always vote for the woman candidate. So this election cycle, I will be voting for Vice President Harris because she's the only woman on the ticket. Not only at the president level, I also vote a straight woman ticket regardless of party. I figure that's my small effort in social justice for gender equality until the Congress is 50% male, 50% female. That's going to be my intent, likely long after I pass away, but I figure it's a little something I could do. And if there's two women on the ticket, I vote for the Republican woman. If there's two women on a nonpartisan seat, like a judge or something, I just pick for the one with the funnier sounding last name. And I know that's not good democracy, but that's an honest reflection of how I vote. Regardless, I guess in saying all this, I've alienated everyone who's not a hardcore feminist Republican. But regardless, that's the honest truth of where I sit in the political spectrum. I do think that less government is better. Lower taxes are better. That is my opinion. Regardless, as we sail through, the fact that electric vehicles are forefront in the presidential election has been somewhat unfortunate to watch from the bleacher seats. But it seems as though we've now normalized with both candidates being pro-EV. Thanks for watching.